So to start, would you like to tell me about yourself and your background in organizing?
My background in organizing when I was a child, like in middle school and high school, I was organizing alongside other young people whose parents are in the military. And in this work, we had to do organizing of each other and our peers on and off base, but we also had to appeal to like the local or garrison commander, the regional army leadership, and also like senior army leadership, like in the Pentagon. And we were doing things like demanding better, more equitable schools that military youth could go to on and off base. We were also asking for like integration programs for young people whose families had to travel and change places a lot. Military youth were having a hard time acclimating to going to school and finding friends and other things. Also, we were organizing around access to mental health services for young people whose parents deployed a lot. And also better on-base youth centers. I am someone who would like always spend a lot of time at the youth center, and that's where a lot of the organizing was happening out of. And also the like learning and gathering around like, what do we want to talk to these adults about? What can actually make our lives better? I wasn't considering that stuff organizing at the time, but I feel like it definitely shaped a little bit of my experience. This organizing was really steeped in white supremacist and carceral and corrective and disciplinary paradigms and ideologies. And I learned a lot about the military and the prison industrial complexes as a child. And today my work strives to destabilize and transcend in some ways the violence of the prison industrial and the military industrial complex. And the ways that I'm trying to do that is through abolitionist organizing, through things like book clubs and doula collectives. I also, from that organizing, I transition into, or like, being an older young person and in college. And I was doing a lot of student organizing on campus. And it was during my work as a student organizer that I learned the importance of community organizing. I remember working with other organizers who reminded us that we as students, university students, we had a unique responsibility to show up for the community, that while we were and are members of this like so-called campus community, we need to like get the resources like back out to the people, but also we're not just like members of this fake ass campus community. We live in this city and we are not exempt from the violences that happen to the other Black people that live here. And so that was really a turning point for me. Also, like in study, like what I was learning in school, you know, I studied philosophy and I studied dance. And I was really interested in critical philosophy of race and critical legal studies. At one point, I really wanted to be an attorney. And then I had this like a really sad experience interacting with this judge who like the Pre-Law Society brought to campus. I asked her if she believed that the law was inherently anti-Black. And it was like at an event in front of everyone, and she was really embarrassed me and told me like, no. And then after the event, she came up to me and she was like, why did you ask me that? Like, you know that I couldn't tell you the truth. And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't think I need to be an attorney, but also like, I wasn't doing well in my political science classes. I was doing really well in my philosophy classes and in dance. And so one of my professors, she really made sure that I had the support that I needed to really shift gears. And I was also shifting gears politically as well during this time. I, like as a community organizer, I was really focusing on organizing against anti-trans legislation and organizing against the police, more locally at that time. And yeah, that was a really important and impactful experience that I had. While I was actually in graduate school, something happened that really shifted the way that I organized today. And it was the Charlotte uprising. So myself and other queer and trans people from in Charlotte, we got together to respond to the murder of Keith Lamont Scott in Charlotte in 2016. And a huge movement really grew around what it meant for Black people to resist police violence in Charlotte, and also like what are some infrastructures that we can build to respond to these violences that are supported by the community, like jail support, like kind of a further investment in mutual aid, and the ways that that can happen. And dealing with that really shifted like how I do direct action, how I do political education, just the campaigns that I'm interested in working alongside now and within. And then in terms of like the ideologies, I guess, that inform the movement work, anarchism and Black anarchism are important to me, as well as like some other leftist ideologies that include abolition of the state, and of prisons and police, and also the logics that sustain these things, as well as like directly and explicitly prison industrial complex abolition. Ideologies that overall recognize like the power of oppressed groups of people in struggle. And then I don't know if you could call this a political ideology, but like I believe in working with other people and collaborating, and that like liberation or freedom or even justice, like none of these things can be like individualized projects or something. And so I want to know how I know that if we want to do it, we have to do it together in all the ways. Yeah, I'll pause there.
Awesome, thank you. You're an incredible speaker. I've
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
enjoyed like that through line of like how you developed in your organizing, and like yeah, similarly, just like really responding to jail support. Like that's what got me into movement
Yeah.
organizing, and like really like the like Angela Davis's like magic trick. Like that was also my first like in person, like being
Wow.
in a carceral setting. So just like loving it. Awesome. To move on, how did you connect with Miriam and form this idea for the online abortion doula training?
So I connected with Miriam through my friend Kelly Hayes. She put us in touch. I have known Kelly for a little while in the way of direct action training and organizing and otherwise world building. Miriam asked me like how she could support my work. And she asked me like what I've been doing, what I have been up to. And I shared with her that I have been doing these abortion doula trainings. And I shared some things with her about like what it looks like for me to do the training now. I told her that the trainings are sliding scale, and that at this time in my like training career, I believe in having exclusive learning spaces for non-white people, especially with reproductive justice. And so that has looked like in practice for me. That has looked like having a training that I call like a mixed training, where all different types of people can come, white people can come. And then I'll do a training that's exclusive to non-white people, Black people, brown people, people who are not white. And that has been such a beautiful space for me, because I usually run these trainings simultaneously. There was a few months where I did them actually on the same day, which I'll never do again. But as you can imagine, the training spaces are so different. The conversation is different. The sharing of stories is different. And that's because of who's in the room. And so I just think it's important to like offer the learning in that way. But getting back to Miriam, like she made it such that I could devote like all of my time for 6 months to training other Black people and brown people. And that is really important to me. That is the first time and really the only time that I've been able to like set aside my time like that. And the training itself, I believe, was enhanced because of her support. I was able to have someone supporting with technical stuff on Zoom, sharing slides and just other things, taking stack. Like it was really supportive to have that, as well as live captioning. I really, at first I underestimated how meaningful that would be, but it's another very meaningful and supportive thing to have. And I realized that I really need those things when I put on a training, or it would be really great if I could have those things. It would also be really great to dedicate more and more and more of my time to Black people. And so the residency, it also enabled me to connect more in a more sustainable and resourced way with my clients, with my doula clients. I was able to give them more of my attention and time. I'm always giving a lot of attention and time to all of my clients, but during the 6 months of the residency, I believe like how I showed up as a doula was just more improved as well, because my needs were met, and because I felt supported in what I was doing. And this is all really important because the abortion doula trainings, that is like one of the ways that I have been using to like generate income for myself. And so in the past, I've had to rely on training people who are not white in order to like make money, such that I could waive the cost entirely, or like give people who are not white discounts so that they could just come. And that's really important to me too, as I have certain constraints.
What were your expectations going into your first cohort, and like how did those expectations shift over the course of like the multiple groups that you trained? Also, sorry, I always do multi-part questions.
Yes.
So also just like the immediate reaction to like us putting out the application. On my end, it was the highest engagement that we've had with any of the things that I put out with Project NIA over the last 2 years. So it was really like, I felt the impact on my end as a communicator, and I would love to hear how you felt as the facilitator of the program.
I was really excited and overwhelmed by the amount of applicants. I believe there were over 800, if I'm not mistaken, which that I have put calls out for this training before, but none of them have ever received as much feedback as the one that I did with Project NIA. And again, I just think that people were ready to have the conversation, ready to learn. I also know that people who are engaged in the work that Project NIA does, they know what's at stake in a lot of ways, and they know how important an abortion doula training is. I was thrown off a little bit by the white people who applied, even though it was explicitly a training for Black and Indigenous people of color. A little like, oh, that's very interesting. And then I was also excited by the amount of people who already do reproductive health rights and justice work, the fact that they wanted to learn as well. That was really exciting. Some other things, I think I realized also that this is a really important offering, and there should be more and more abortion doula trainings being provided.
Awesome, thank you. Could you give an overview of the program and like what you touched on, or like also just like the framework of how you move through the various topics?
Yeah, so I believe that the training is cumulative, in that I really need folks to complete all of the training in totality to kind of be able to take away what I think is really necessary for all abortion doulas to know. So for the first week, we actually start with the reproductive justice history and framework. Sometimes people share their reproductive justice stories. Sometimes I share my abortion story about being trans and having 2 abortions in the clinic, what that was like. We also talk about the intersections of birth justice and reproductive justice. We go over the history and the framework, the principles as well. And I really want to introduce just like the timelines to people in terms of reproductive justice. I want people to know about the differences between reproductive health rights and justice. I think that all of these things kind of should come before talking about like being an abortion doula. And so I also know that that is one thing that sets the training that I offer aside from some of the other trainings that I see out there. And shout out to everyone who's like including the reproductive justice framework and history in an abortion doula training. It's necessary. We really have to do it. Week two, we talk about self-managed abortion and medication abortion. That is really important to me as well, because in my learning and study to being an abortion doula, sometimes the self-managed abortion piece gets sidelined, or even in my own like training experience, it's not given as much time. And so I really wanted to like front load self-managed abortion, talk about the regimen that the World Health Organization and the FDA recommends, and really share with people the tools about how we can support people in accessing medication abortion pills and the support that people sometimes need as it relates to experiencing and doing medication abortion. And so that's a really like interesting week. I think at that point, I'm also weaving in some digital safety, things that we can do to keep ourselves and our clients safe. There's a homework assignment as well. One of the things that I want people to do after week 1 is actually like know or go and figure out what it is like to get an abortion where they are in time and space. So I asked them to look for what are the abortion clinics where you live, but also what are the fake abortion clinics or the crisis pregnancy centers within a 50-mile radius, where are those at? I asked people to look up what the sedation options are at the clinics that they're seeing. What are the abortion funds? What are the abortion support related resources? Where can people learn more information? I asked people to also consider other abortion related just things that I really think they should be able to know about what it's like to get an abortion where they are. I remind people that like, and I'm trying to remind myself when I do this, but we do not have to be like these national abortion experts or something. We actually just kind of need to be an expert on where we are, because that information can help a lot of people. And with these abortion doula trainings, what I'm seeing is that we're actually building a large network of support such that I don't have to be the expert on getting an abortion in Detroit, Michigan, because I know someone now who is the expert on that. I don't have to be the expert on what it's like to get an abortion in Puerto Rico, because I know someone now who does know that information, and we support each other in terms of supporting our clients. From there, week 3, we talk about surgical and procedural abortion, which is my favorite type of abortion. And we also talk about clarifying our values as abortion doulas. There's an exercise that I use called a values clarification exercise, where we kind of rank these declarative statements around how much we agree or disagree. These are statements, some of them are like anti-choice sentiments, like abortion should be rare. And we talk about like how folks feel about this statement, if they agree, if they disagree, but we also talk about the logics that produce that statement. And we also identify what are some of the like maybe anti-abortion sentiments that we hold. Or what are the ideas that we have about young people accessing abortion? Do we believe that we would be able to support someone who's saying that they wanted to have an abortion because they learned their baby would be intersex or have a certain type of disability, right? All of these things we're really kind of talking through. So I love week 3 for that. And then the final week, I called that a miscellaneous week because I didn't know where else to put all of this information, but this looks like crisis planning. This looks like emotional support and mental support. This looks like understanding what physical comfort measures are out there, as well as what we might want to include in what we call our doula bag if we're going to support someone. We also talk about responding to and supporting people who are experiencing intimate partner violence and domestic violence. There's so many intersections and areas of our lives that abortion reaches, and we can't leave any of them out as doulas because, we don't make assumptions about what people need. And often we realize that navigating an abortion is usually not the only thing that someone is dealing with. And so we want to approach things holistically. And so that's a little bit about what the 4-week training series looks like. And then it is 2 hours each week. And it could be a lot longer. I've considered extending it maybe 1 week because the 2 hours feels a little short sometimes.
Yeah, that sounds so incredible. Thank you for breaking it down for us. What are your core takeaways from the training, as well as takeaways from your abortion doula practice that you would want newcomers to reproductive justice to hold?
Yeah, so one of the first things that I can think of is funding abortions is key. As an abortion doula, the informational, physical, and emotional support that I can provide, I usually can't even get to those things until I'm like helping the person know that having an abortion is a reality or can be a reality for them if they want it, by making sure that it's paid for. There's so many reasons why someone can't afford their abortion on their own. One of them is that abortions are expensive. And I try to front load getting the abortion funded so that we can begin to even talk about what else a person is wanting or thinking about. And I think that my clients also feel a little bit better about asking for other types of support once we get that out the way. Also, the funding is really pertinent to the support that we provide because abortions cost based on gestation. And so there's also often waiting periods or other barriers that people are facing that with the right information and the right support, people can find victory like in their experience. And that's what I'm really hoping to see. I also think that organizing towards an end to abortion criminalization, which is an end to pregnancy criminalization, that is pertinent for all people who want to show up for abortion access right now with a reproductive justice framework. I believe that folks should really consider the ways that abortion criminalization is pregnancy criminalization, and think about how accessing healthcare is not something that people should face legal recourse for at all. And so I want for all of our amazing abortion and reproductive justice advocates and organizers to really focus on criminalization a lot more. I also think that before getting involved, folks should consider their own risk tolerance, and also see if there are abortion doula collectives where they live. And also what feels really important to me is that to never do this work alone. I don't do the work that I do to support people by myself, and I don't think anyone else should. And again, I think we yield our best practices when we're working in collaboration with others. And so those are just a few things that come off the top.
What are action items for folks who want to get into reproductive justice organizing?
So I think that people should connect with abortion funds in their area and other organizations that support abortion access. And also, I think people should be supporting the organizations that have their eyes on criminalization as well. For repro folks already in the movement, I usually point them in the direction of interrupting criminalization, actually, and repro legal defense fund, as well as pregnancy justice, in terms of thinking about pregnancy criminalization, but also how are we building alternatives that don't rely on police and policing in the creation of our support networks.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you have any future offerings that you'd like to share, or similarly positioned offerings from different individuals or groups?
So I still offer the abortion doula trainings, 4 sessions once a week, 2 hours virtual. I hope to be able to continue to offer those trainings. I'm actually in the 4th week of a training that I started, and that is important because it's my first one since the residency ended. And so I also hope to be able to be resourced in the future so that I can offer the trainings more often and at a free cost to other people who are Black and Brown. Another offering that I have are what I'm calling abortion doula office hours. And these are for virtual spaces, again, for folks who are learners, who are abortion doulas, to come and share strategies, to talk and learn from each other outside of the abortion doula training space. Like I mentioned before, the trainings could be a lot longer, or they could go on longer. And one of the things that is probably missing from them is folks' ability to build more connection with each other as people are participating from different places. And then I know that there are a lot of organizations out there who are offering abortion doula trainings. And I would also say that folks should try to find one in your area. It's really also important to be learning these skills and talking about these skills with people that are in the same place as you.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, yeah, my last question, and you did touch on it a little bit already, but what are a few places that people should donate to in order to support abortion access / abortion doula trainings?
So to support abortion access, I think that folks should continue to support the National Network of Abortion Funds. And through that organization, you can actually find your local abortion fund. I think that people should continue supporting their local funds and their local reproductive justice organizations. I think that folks should also support orgs like We Testify and their abortion doula collectives. I think that folks should also keep an eye out for groups and orgs that are not nonprofit organizations, like some of the clinic escort groups or the child care collectives that are supporting abortion seekers as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And then finally, is there any parting words that you'd want to share about your experiences with Project NIA, about reproductive justice? It's also I think 2 days ago was the anniversary of the overturn of Roe. So it's also just a lot of feelings and emotions in the air. So let me know if there's anything else you'd want to share.
So not only was the anniversary of the overturning of Roe versus Wade a couple days ago, but in less than a week in the state of North Carolina, the law will change, banning almost all abortions around 12 weeks. And I'm really nervous about the impacts of that ban on abortion access and folks' ability to support abortion seekers. I'm also feeling really grounded in the support that I've been providing as an abortion doula. And with that, I'm also really grateful for being able to participate in the residency 6 months prior to this ban going in effect. In some ways, I think in some ways, I think it kind of readied me for the time ahead. And I'm still really also excited to continue supporting other people that are learning about supporting abortion seekers wherever they are. And so I also want to say thank you to Project NIA and for all of the people that participated in supporting the program like you. I couldn't have like done it without all of y'all, without Miriam's support, without Kelly's support. And so I just also want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Ash. This is wonderful. It was really great to hear about your experiences. I was so excited when I heard that Miriam was running this residency with you. So I'm really honored to be able to share time and space with you via this virtual medium. But just thank you so much. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you.